Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Haskell Internship Experience Podcast. I am your host, Allie Hale, and today I am joined by Jordan Teran, one of our 30 interns that we have for this spring. Jordan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself this morning?
I'm doing well. Thank you again for joining us today. We're excited to highlight your experiences from your internship. Let's go ahead and jump right in. As you know, team is one of our core values here at Haskell. Tell us a little bit about some of the teams that you're on, maybe what degree that you're studying.
Currently, trying to knock out some prereqs over at FSCJ for the last handful of construction core courses that I need to take over at UNF for my bachelor's degree. My team is pre-construction. Pre-construction's job is to essentially help Haskell develop estimates for jobs that we're bidding on. I do takeoffs and contractor reach outs, just to determine whether or not those contractors or vendors are going to be able or capable of helping us with the project that we're considering them for.
I know your story to Haskell is a little bit unique, so maybe tell us about how you found Haskell or maybe how Haskell found you.
As most of you guys are already familiar with, I found Haskell, or Haskell found me via Habitat for Humanity, leading a volunteer project, and buddy of mine had already taken on an internship here, and he had mentioned it to me, and recommended or suggested that submit a solicitation for an internship, and I did that, and via the channels that he gave me,
and the rest is history.
Like I said, glad to be here. It's been an awesome experience so far. Learned a lot, a whole lot. 22 years in the military, doing information systems, data administration, network administration, and comms and cybersecurity. So got out, retired, didn't want to do that anymore. Wife suggested, hey, you've always liked building things. Maybe you should pursue a career in, construction.
And so far, it's been a great fit.
Initially, what I wanted to do is rehabilitate and resell houses. Now, I'm in an office on Riverside with a robot dog walking through the lobby, you know what I'm saying? So it's not how I initially envisioned this thing going, but,
Every day's a little bit different, though, right?
Everything's different. You never know how things are going to turn out, so.
At Haskell, we obviously create things that matter. So maybe tell us a little bit about some of the projects that you have worked on specifically here at Haskell.
So initially, a charter school in South Carolina. Worked on that through the summer, and then I transferred to pre-construction. Since I've been in pre-construction, worked on a lot of different projects, airports, hospitals, wastewater treatment plants, doing estimating for those, concrete takeoffs, architectural takeoffs, fixtures, doors, stuff like that.
Do you have a particular favorite story from any of those experiences?
The more, I'm exposed to the different types of projects, the more I learn, Honestly, the great thing about it so far is that my experience here is more in line with my education, and that's been the big thing for me, the big draw.
That's great. Good to get some well-rounded experience and real-world experience, because there's only so much that you can pull from a textbook, but to be able to kind of apply it in a real-world setting is always a good feeling, I'm sure. Tell us maybe a little bit about some of your favorite aspects so far of your internship experience overall.
Honestly, the care and just all the work that it seems like you guys put into this program. You guys seem to have a very structured program, hey, it's all laid out. That's the thing that I appreciate most. I guess maybe coming from the military, it's more akin to my experience in the military. Like, hey, here are the things that we're going to provide for you to become the best possible whatever. And I appreciate the fact that, everything is, lined up for that.
Well, one of our favorite taglines that we like to say here at Haskell is, providing team members with the best job of their lives. So maybe tell us some things that have stood out to you that has created this experience to be the best internship of your life.
The intern big pitch, collaborating with interns from all over the country, coming together to put our pitch project together. That was rewarding.
Well, maybe give us a little teaser as to what your guys' pitch was about.
Last year's pitch was Haskell Shorts. Haskell Shorts was supposed to be a series of educational videos, I guess sort of like TikTok.
Very popular with the young crowd these days.
Exactly. TikTok for Haskell, but educational videos for just typical office tasks that you may need.
As a team, you all had the opportunity to pitch your idea in front of a panel of executive leaders. Maybe tell me a little bit about how that experience was. Was it nerve-wracking? Was it beneficial?
We were a little nervous,
Okay.
standing up there, in front of all your peers and, all the execs. And it's like, you start to, question like, well, are we prepared? Do we put enough work into it? And I think, at some point in the pitch, you get over all that, if you've done the work and, you put in the effort, things just kind of come, The awesome thing about it is that, it's coming back around again this summer, I know exactly what it's like.
You'll be ready. Everybody watch out for Jordan.
And then the other cool thing is that, I've been here long enough where, I've had a chance to get familiar with, how things work here in the different departments. And now I've got contacts in marketing and, operations, and I have other people that I can, go ask for help. Hey, here's what we've got going on. I need help with this. I need help with that. And the great thing about Haskell is that everybody loves helping you. If you have a question here, nobody has a problem helping you with it. Nobody has a problem answering those questions. They want you genuinely to become the best at whatever it is you do.
I love that you point that out. I think that's kind of one of the things that I always tell folks about Haskell is we work with so many incredibly smart people who are also willing to share that knowledge with you. And I think that that's just huge, especially with our internship program. We're very intentional about creating experiences that are aligned with an entry-level role. So we want you guys to feel as though you're jumping right in and doing the things that obviously matter. And so happy to hear that those are some of the experiences that you've been able to participate in. What would you tell a college student who is considering Haskell for an internship? Would you give them any particular advice?
Oh, it's an awesome place to be. The awesome thing about Haskell is that, they do a little bit of everything here. It's a all-encompassing, AEC firm. So, they do architecture, they do engineering, they do construction. So you just get a more well-rounded experience here. It's a holistic experience. Interns get everything they can out of, being here. You just don't get that everywhere. Sometimes, if you're in construction, that's all you get. You're an engineer, you get engineering. You don't get to see those other aspects.
Well, all of that being said, is there any advice you would give to a potential intern or even somebody interning right now to make the most out of their experience?
Explore, don't be afraid to ask people questions around here. And that was the thing that, one of the things that I was told when I first got here, said, don't be afraid to ask questions. And, it can be a little intimidating at first because you figure, okay, well, so-and-so's going to be too busy to talk. They're never too busy to talk to you, And if they see that you genuinely have, a desire to learn, they'll take the time, I'm in construction, I go talk to, folks in architecture all the time. I talk to engineers all the time. I talk to people in marketing, and they love talking about what they do. Take it in, take it all in, start at the first floor, go to the second floor, go to the third floor, just walk around, talk to people. Hey, what do you do? And you'd be surprised, the, relationships that you made too, obviously, I got a little head start there. It was funny coming in, with the other interns last year, and we're walking around, getting introductions, and everybody's like, hey, you're the guy from Habitat, and all the interns looking like, hey, wait a minute, like
I started early. Sorry about that.
Knew 85% of the people here before I even, did my first day. It's cool,